Irish Guy, and today I'm going to be the Premier League Grinch. You know, the ugly little goblin hiding under a bridge, ready to just jump out and spoil the ending for Premier League fans. Everyone is hyped about the upcoming 24-25 season, but I'm worried. I'm worried this whole campaign is going to turn out to be some damp squib for everyone. I mean, practically every single football team. Not even Man City are truly going to enjoy this one. Watch, I will explain, okay? Because first of all, Arsenal are not winning the league this season. Many people are squealing that they will, but I am sorry. No! And you know what's more? They won't even put up a meaningful title challenge. You might think I'm crazy. Absolutely bonkers. Because they just signed an Italian centre-back monster from Bologna. Guys, relax, okay? He's someone who's got the crazy eyes, like some young man on a bus who you're not totally surprised by when he takes a dead squirrel out of his lunchbox before proceeding to eat his yogurt off some old woman's hat. Lads, Arsenal have done incredibly well over the last 2 seasons, putting up 2 title challenges, brilliant, but that's it. Let me ask you, okay? Sir Alex Ferguson and Pep Guardiola are freaks, arguably the 2 greatest managers of all time. Aside from them, let me ask you, when was the last time a manager was in 3 successive Premier League title races? I'll tell you who it was. Jose Mourinho, when he challenged with Chelsea in 2005, 2006, and 2007. Before him, it was Arsene Wenger, who incredibly put up 8 consecutive title challenges in a row. But that's it, I promise you, that is it. And does Arteta belong in the same category of those monster managers? No. Plenty of coaches have managed to pluck up the energy to compete in title races 2 years running, like Pochettino, Klopp, Mancini, Ancelotti, Keegan Dalglish. So tell me, do you think a 42-year-old Arteta belongs in column A, alongside the 4 evergreen titans of Premier League history, the Mount Rushmore of Premier League managers, or column B, alongside some very good managers? There is a reason managers are not able to sustain 3 outside title challenges in a row. It must be mentally exhausting, and especially when you don't win. I mean, to come back from 1 failed title challenge and to go again is incredible, but to actually finally win it on your 3rd lung-busting, mentally absorbing attempt, no. That sort of thing does not happen anymore. Arsenal are the complete outsiders, the people's champion. I would liken them to being the Atletico Madrid of the Premier League, who, to be fair, have showed frightening consistency under Diego Simeone, but despite the absolute fairy tale madness he has produced in Madrid, like 2 La Liga title wins, even he never had the required energy to sustain 3 meaningful title challenges in a row. Even he's not been able to manage that. And he's got the intensity of a wild grizzly bear. Ozzy, can you imagine being out to dinner with that guy? He'd probably spend the first 20 minutes screaming instructions at his soup before slapping the waiter on the chin with a spoon when he brings in butter that's too hard to cut. Simeone is somebody who's been trying to keep up with the ridiculously world-class sides in Spain, who, like Man City, regularly achieve 90+ point seasons. And even he needs seasons to recuperate, recharge, and then go again. I mean, the Gunners achieved an incredible 89 points last season and did not win. Yeah, when Atletico put 88 points on the board in 2016, and yet still finished 3rd despite an incredible season, they actually lost the league by 3 points and lost the Champions League final on penalties to their city rivals. They were then mentally spent, and their performances fell off the next season. I think Arsenal's performances are also going to dip. It is natural. The last time a manager finished 2nd twice in a row before winning the Premier League the next year was Wenger, who amazingly finished twice 3 times in a row in 1999, 2000, and 2001 before lifting it again in 2002. So it has been done by Arsenal in the past, but is Arteta that guy? Peak Wenger? Are we totally sure he doesn't have an inferiority complex deep inside his brain, considering it used to make Pep his cheese sandwiches whenever the Catalan clicked his fingers? So without Arsenal returning for a title challenge next season, then if Man City do win the Premier League again easily, then guess what? That would be 5 in a row. And it's starting to stink of what Serie A was when Juventus hoovered up 7 in a row recently, or the Bundesliga where Bayern Munich put 10 together in a row, or Ligue 1 in France, where I don't actually blame PSG for ruining it. The most they put together is 4 league titles in a row. Oh, believe me, we've seen worse. It was actually worse in the 2000s when Lyon lifted 7 league titles in a row. City winning 5 in a row would be bad enough. It would mean the Premier League is now about as predictable as Sunday lunch with my nan. I know that by the time we're on to dessert, she is going to poot in her chair, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to be the one who has to rescue her false teeth from her glass of champagne. But it's not the predictability that would ruin the Premier League. No, it's the fact that they're doing all this whilst being embroiled in a distracting court case, meaning that none of this might not even matter. I don't know whether to appreciate Pep's genius, to soak in and appreciate just what an incredible team we're watching, because this whole thing could be cancelled by a judge. It's why I don't bother to watch the Olympics anymore, because I don't know when people are going to be eventually found out for juicing up their horse. With a looming court case hanging over everyone's head, it sort of takes the jeopardy out of what we're watching, because none of this could matter. A bit like how Marvel killed off Iron Man.
Oh no, we're never gonna see Robert Downey Jr. in the multiverse ever again!
Now you will, because he's now Doctor Doom. So comic book geeks can still sit in their seats, drooling into their toffee popcorn. It is the same. You can't take seriously movie franchise deaths anymore, and I can't trust what my eyes are telling me that Manchester City are the greatest team of all time, because this could all be proven to be fake. Having this hanging over City, it's not fair on the players or the fans, because they can no longer lose themselves in the moment, when a judge could, in one verdict, throw cold water over their history. We could realistically be at a point soon where a team of lawyers even discredit the Aguero goal against QPR, the most dramatic moment in Premier League history. That might be wiped from history. That moment could just be like the Simpsons episode where there's another Seymour Skinner, something that was instantly retconned from the show's history, that nobody ever speaks of again. And what makes this season really dull is that there's no surprise packages to get behind anymore. I remember when Manchester City were bought in 2008. It was one of the most earth-shattering, craziest football days of all time. Words couldn't truly sum it up, because lads, they had ended the previous season with an 8-1 defeat against Middlesbrough. And yet, in the blink of an eye, they were suddenly targeting Henry, Fabregas, Torres, Villa, Berbatov, even Cristiano Ronaldo in a £135 million deal. To put it in context, the world transfer record was still only 50 million quid for Zidane. Hearing the new City owners literally state that they wanted to take the best player in the world from Manchester United, I remember thinking that was scary, because £135 million. How could Man United possibly say no? See what I mean? That Man City takeover completely shook up the Premier League. They were now a team of endless possibilities. Watching their ascent was scary to watch. It was like the rise of a Batman super villain. They were ready to conquer the world. You couldn't look away. How does a club in the space of just 18 months go from begging Portsmouth to wake Banjani up at the airport to then offering Samuel Eto'o a mega money deal? But because of FFP, Newcastle, they can't do any of that. Instead, they just have to be shrewd and clever and just pat themselves on the back for signing Lloyd Kelly on a free. I mean, come on, it says it all that the second signing of Newcastle's glorious new moneybags regime was Chris Wood. Their fourth signing was Dan Burn, who looks like he brings Wednesday Addams her morning coffee. Because of annoying FFP, we don't get to see Newcastle bursting into title races and making shocking offers for the best players in the world. Oh no! Look, I know people will be squealing in my ear that Aston Villa are that exciting surprise package we can all get behind. But no! They just finished fourth and qualified for the Champions League. Great. You know what that means? They won't be doing that again. Name me the last surprise package that snuck their way into the top four, a team nobody would have forecast to get there. Name the last team who did that and then repeated the trick the following season to prove it wasn't a fluke. No. Inside the last 20 years, Everton finished an amazing 4th in 2005, 11th the following year. Tottenham pulled off a madness by finishing 4th in 2010, 5th the following year. Leicester City finished 1st in 2016, 12th the following year. Newcastle finished an incredible 4th in 2023, 7th the following year. When these small, inexperienced squads reach the top of the mountain and actually achieve Champions League football, they can never cope with the extra games the following season. Yes, I know Pochettino eventually turned Spurs into Champions League regulars, but it was no longer a shock for them to finish in the top four regularly, because they were no longer the plucky underdogs. I mean, when Pochettino had to finish in the top four seasons in a row, yeah, great. They'd spent the previous 5 seasons before that regularly qualifying for the Europa League. They were there or thereabouts. Villa were not. I mean, it's not so long ago. Their players were having to listen to a confidence-lacking Steven Gerrard as he nervously chomped on a donut. Lads, the worst Premier League seasons are the ones where nothing really happened. To me, the worst ever Premier League season that I can remember was, ironically, the last one where Jose Mourinho won a Premier League title. I know, you probably think that's bizarre. Surely I'm someone who would have spent the entirety of that season kissing my Jose teddy bear. But no, it was actually a horribly dull year. Nothing happened. There was no title race. Nobody was able to stomach a title challenge against Chelsea. Not really. I mean, Chelsea were top for 37 out of the 38 game weeks. That ain't a title race. Come on. Their only real title challenge in the first third of the season was Southampton. And once Ronald Koeman's plucky Saints ran out of steam with 4 straight defeats before Christmas, they then quickly trickled out of the top 4. And so a top 4 of Chelsea, Man City, Man United and Arsenal did not change for the rest of the season. There wasn't even a proper relegation battle either. Hull City, Burnley and QPR were the early season favourites for relegation, and they did not disappoint. All 3 went down without a whimper. There was no shock big club getting relegated. Nothing. Yeah, I suppose we got to see the Leicester City Great Escape, but other than that, it was a garbage, absolutely dull year. And I'm worried we're gonna get that again, because that was a season where, other than Chelsea, nobody had a good season. Nobody! Everyone underperformed. Chelsea aside, everyone. Even the teams who crawled their way into the top 4. Everyone was poor. Not a single set of fans would have been happy with their team that season. Not even the sides who stayed up. I mean, Christ, sure, Leicester fans probably thought they were witnessing a miracle, but come on. That was a future title-winning squad. Players like Schmeichel, Vardy, Mahrez, Cambiasso, even Kramaric, and you still only finished 14th? Was that really maximizing your squad? Everyone had a bad season, and I think that's what we're going to witness this season too. Because lads, there is a serious shortage of elite managers in the Prem this season. Come on, it wasn't so long ago where even the mid-table clubs had huge bosses. That showed the lure of the Premier League. I mean, Everton recently had Carlo Ancelotti at the wheel. A couple of years before him, they had been heavily linked with stealing Diego Simeone. He was their #1 choice. That circle of celebrity managerial targets now looks like a joke when their coach is Sean Dyche, who just looks like some ordinary bloke from down the pub who you just know eats sausage sandwiches in bed. I mean, during the 18-19 season, it seemed like practically everyone had an elite manager, a coach above their station. Arsenal had Emery, Bournemouth had Howe, Burnley had Dyche, Chelsea had Sarri, Everton had Silva, Leicester had Rodgers, Liverpool had Klopp, Man City had Pep, Man United had Mourinho, Newcastle had Benitez, Southampton had Hasenhüttl, Spurs had Pochettino, Watford had Gracia, West Ham had Pellegrini, Wolves had Nuno Santo. It seemed like nearly everyone had a quality manager on paper, managers who they were lucky to have. But now it's the reverse, because words can't express how lucky Enzo Maresca is to have the Chelsea job. If this was 5 years ago, a man of his limited experience would have the Huddersfield job at best. Honestly, what separates him from David Wagner? I mean, he's friends with Pep. Cool. Wagner's other half on Bebo is probably Jurgen Klopp. The likes of Arne Slot is incredibly lucky to have the Liverpool job. Eric Ten Hag the same with Man United. If this was 5 years ago, these guys would be at the likes of West Ham and Everton. Outside of Aston Villa, Brentford, Man City and Ipswich, I have seen every other current Premier League team have a better manager at some point over the last 20 years. Every single other club in this league has had better bosses over the last 2 decades. Outside of Emery, Frank, Guardiola and McKenna, every other team in this league has had a better caliber of manager at the wheel since 2004. This is not as good as it gets for them. So it's not coaching excellence. There's not many to truly get excited about. Compare this class of coaching to Serie A. Sure, you've got wily old dogs like Antonio Conte and Jean-Pierre Gasparini, but I can't be the only one enthralled by the young coaching stars coming through, the ones who are huge names as players and who are now turning into promising young managers, like Thiago Motta, Simone Inzaghi, Alessandro Nesta, Alberto Gilardino, Daniel De Rossi, Cesc Fabregas. I remember watching them as ferocious megastar footballers, so to see them carving their way in the coaching game in one of Europe's top leagues, I feel like a proud mum. But the coaching pedigree in the Prem this season, it just looks poor, just largely unimaginative appointments. What makes the Premier League truly exciting is the promoted teams, right? Unknown quantities. You don't know what they're going to do in the big boy league. That used to be the case. Now you have a fairly good idea. They will be absolute cat poison and will either go straight back down or will narrowly survive relegation by the width of a gerbil's nose. The gap between the Premier League and the Championship has become so financially huge that promoted teams no longer pull off a madness when they come up. Christ off, Newcastle. They won the championship in 1993 and then in the Premier League finished 3rd, 6th, 2nd and 2nd. Nottingham Forest came up in 1994 and immediately finished 3rd. Sunderland won the championship in 1999 before finishing 7th in the first season back in the Prem. In 2001, newly promoted Ipswich finished 5th. Newly promoted Wolves finished 7th in 2019 with the riches of China behind them. But it rarely happens anymore. I remember the refreshing days of 2005 when both West Ham and Wigan came up together. And not only did they both finish inside the top half, but they also both reached cup finals. That was insane, but you don't get that anymore. The Premier League teams this season are the exact same as they were 2 years ago, bar one. We've swapped Leeds for Ipswich. That's it. It's almost an identical table, and you know why that is? Because all 3 promoted teams that season went straight back down, and we were given 2 of the relegated teams back. Boring! Because of parachute payments, you know the teams that you lose you're gonna see them again very soon. There's no real jeopardy anymore. I mean, everyone thought it was really wacky and wild to see long-term Premier League fixtures like Leicester and Southampton drop out of the league 2 years ago. They're back! I feel like this season is going to be just like 2015, when most teams had a poor season. There was no title race, no promoted teams doing a madness like they used to. It's just going to be very, very meh. Anyway, that's even. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. I don't know. Do you think it's going to be a good season? Do you? Let me know. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, share, as always. I'll talk to you in a while.